Hey guys, welcome back. So I just came back from a vacation in Orlando and I got to visit Hollywood Studios at Disney World. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure I filmed was the launch bay, especially because the launch bay isn't open in Disneyland anymore. So I wanted to give you guys a tour of the whole launch bay, all the models that are in there, the props, and the artwork. So let's check it out. So this was actually my first time visiting the launch bay in Orlando, and they have everything set up so nice. I mean, the museum style cases are beautiful. I love the fact that they have these two ships right up front in these museum style pedestals. The lighting is just perfect, and it's just a nice and quiet space to, kind of get away from everything in the rest of the park. Now, right up front, they also had one of my favorite ships, which is the Boba Fett Slave One. And to be honest, this is the ship that I wanted to film while in the launch bay, just because we know the model maker that made these, and it's just such a cool ship, right? It's probably one of my favorites. And I do appreciate the fact that Florida decided not to change the name and left it as Slave One. Just because, hey, that's how we grew up knowing that ship. And it's just so beautifully displayed. I love the lighting around it. And it's just such a great model. And, the model makers that made these are just super talented. And again, the displays are just absolutely mind-blowing. Honestly, this is inspiring. This is a way that I would like to display my Slave One, with the pedestal, with the, glass or acrylic top lighting. And it just, I just love the fact that they have this right up front, and it's one of my favorite things there. Now, as opposed to the launch bay in Disneyland, they actually kind of bundled up all of the other ships into these two large displays. And the one on the left is all the kind of rebellion ships. And obviously start there with the Tantive 4 Corvette, and it's just such a beautiful ship, and it's huge, right? Then right underneath, you could see there that they have an A-wing. And again, these are all accurate studio scale models. Again, made by some of the best model makers out there. And you see there a little land speeder. This one was featured in Solo, and it's just super cool looking. I really was impressed with the way they have this set up. Although I kind of wish they separated them a little bit more. I know the launch bay in Disneyland separates them, but it was just cool to just see all of these ships up close. Obviously there you can see an X-Wing, and it looks like it's Red 5, but such a cool model there too. Now off to the left is this B-Wing, and I just love the way they displayed it standing up like that. Again, just such a beautiful model. And again, the talented model makers that made these, just every single time I see some of these models, just blows my mind how cool they are. So here's a U-Wing from Rogue One. And then on the right side, they actually have all the Imperial ships. And you could actually see there they have a mannequin with a replica of a TIE fighter pilot. And that was really cool to see. I don't remember if they had one of those at the Disney or at Disneyland, but very cool to see. Now here's one of the AT-AT haulers. Obviously there's going to be a Star Destroyer, beautiful, the huge Death Star. I love that thing. Again, this was my first time in the Orlando launch bay, so I love the way they're displayed differently than the way Disneyland displayed them. There's a TIE fighter in there, and underneath there you're gonna see this cool ship. I believe that's I want to say it's from the sequels, right? I don't recall the name. But here's the Star Destroyer, and it's just beautiful. I love it. Again, the model makers that built these are just so talented and make such amazing models. Now, one of the coolest things that I saw inside of the launch bay is that they have a life-size speeder bike on display. And that display was just so cool because not only obviously do they have the, replica of the speeder bike, but I just love the way they displayed it. On one side, they have a whole like Endor scene where you can see the forest off of to the side, but behind it, they have a bunch of the concept art for the speeder bike, and this little kind of like almost like a studio scale model, although it's smaller than the actual studio scale. But it was just really cool the way they displayed this whole thing. So there's the little speeder model that I was talking about, and it's definitely not studio scale because the studio scale one would be much bigger, but maybe there's just other versions of it. But I just love the way they have that displayed, and of course they have the concept art there, and it's just such a cool display. Now, a little further down, they have this massive display with Rey's speeder in there and a replica of Rey's costume. And it's just such a cool display too. It's massive. So, you're kind of down below when you see it, and it just gives it this kind of, I don't know, like a illusion that it's such a huge display. But yeah, that speeder is super cool, and they have one at Disneyland, but the one at Disneyland is outside, so it's really cool that they have it more of like a museum style. Now, the only other props that I found was in this little cage that they have kind of near the exit. Now, they have a bunch of cool stuff. So obviously you could see there, that's the tray that goes on top of R2-D2. They have some droid parts there. You can see C-3PO's arm. There's a Camtono back there. And down below, they have some of the, like the binoculars, right? That Luke uses in Hoth. You also see Lando's face mask, and down below you see one of the packs from one of the Hoth soldiers, and then of course you see a jetpack there, like a Mandalorian one, or maybe Boba Fett's, but just all white. Now, they have a life-size BB-8, and obviously I had to film it because it's also a replica. And of course, you can meet Darth Vader, and the costume is awesome, right? Probably not 100% screen accurate, but yeah, it's cool. Now let's get to the artwork. They have a bunch of artwork in there. And the artwork is kind of scattered all around. They have this huge mural with kind of a timeline painting, right? Going from episode 1. But I really love the fact that they threw in there like Clone Wars. They threw in Solo. They obviously threw in Rebels in there, Rogue One. So it's kind of a definite timeline, especially of the films and all the other content. So it's probably one of my favorite kind of artworks that they had at Launch Bay. And actually outside of the Launch Bay, they had a lot of these kind of backlit displays with a lot of Ralph McQuarrie's concept art, and that part was really cool to see. Just because, again, I love concept art. It's probably one of my favorite types of artwork that there are, you know, in Star Wars. So it's really cool to see. They also had this other huge mural, mostly focused around the films, right? Episode 1 through episode 6. And then, of course, they had all the posters kind of lined up. And again, it's all the original movie posters. And I love the fact that they threw in the Revenge of the Jedi, not just the Return. But there it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tour of the launch bay. Again, it's unfortunate that they don't have it at Disneyland anymore, but at least you could still go to Orlando and check it out there. So don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, and look out for the next video. Thanks, guys.